This is a stimulus update and daily news report, and the fighting continues. There's open warfare between liberal Democrats and moderate Democrats as we're moving forward towards that September 27th deadline and vote for the $1.2 trillion and the $3.5 trillion packages. I'll play you some video clips explaining exactly what's going on there. I'll go over this article right here, stimulus checks update. President Joe Biden could make future payments automatic without a vote. There has been a new bill introduced that will extend the eviction moratorium longer. The House has just passed a bill for the government not to shut down and to suspend the debt limit, but most likely going to face some trouble in the Senate. I'll give you some other more important updates, then I'll answer the questions you leave for me in the comments. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. If you appreciate these fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. And I apologize for yesterday's video. There was a buzzing sound. I saw a lot of your comments. Thanks for pointing that out. I just switched out a bunch of things, put in a new mic. So thank you for your patience and thanks for letting me know about that. Let me know how my audio is in this video. Is it better? Any buzzing sound? I would appreciate that. And thank you for being patient and sticking with me. All right, let's get into it. So House passes bill to avoid government shutdown, suspend debt limit, but it faces Senate roadblocks with deadlines near. So this bill just passed last night, Tuesday, and it would temporarily fund the government and suspend the debt limit. So basically, if the government would if this doesn't pass or if no funding happens with the bill, government would shut down October 1st and U.S. would be unable to pay its bills sometime in October if Congress does not pass legislation addressing both issues. So debt ceiling and both the government being shut down. So Chamber has approved the plan. It was a 220 to 211 vote. All Democrats voted for it and all Republicans opposed it. So we have a September 30th deadline for at least the government to be kept running, and it looks like mid-October is when we're going to see the debt limit, where we're going to have defaults on the U.S. loans or on our U.S. debt. So this is also two more things. The bill would put $28.6 billion toward natural disaster relief and $6.3 billion towards resettlement of Afghan refugees. So it's not just about having the government not shut down. There's a few other things in it. And Mitch McConnell said that Republicans will vote for a standalone funding bill, but not legislation with a debt limit suspension attached. So looks like Republicans will not support that. Going to be more fighting coming up. Next, let's talk about this other bill. So Representative Cori Bush and Senator Elizabeth Warren introduced a bill to reinstate federal eviction moratorium. So if you remember last time, Cori Bush, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Pramila Jayapal, also known as the Squad, they slept out on the Capitol steps. I think this was around August because the eviction moratorium ended, so they slept out on the steps to get attention, and they actually were successful. They got it extended for 60 days, but only for it to be shot down by the Supreme Court 30 days in. So they got halfway through, and now with this bill, they want to extend the eviction moratorium. So what they're saying here is that what's going on with that bill, or what Cori Bush said, is we must protect the millions of people who are at risk of losing their homes, their stability, and even their lives. So how long will this be extended for? So it's going to help about 10.7 million renters. And under the proposed bill, nationwide protections from evictions would take effect automatically without an application process. The moratorium would stay in place until 60 days after the end of a declared public health emergency. Basically, the eviction moratorium would stay on forever until they say that there is no more health emergency, and then once that ends, then 60 days after that is when the eviction moratorium would expire. So I guess the big thing here is we have no idea when the public health emergency is over, when this COVID madness and pandemic is going to finally stop. We don't know when that's going to end. Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. Do you like this bill? Not like it? Eviction moratorium basically being indefinitely until the pandemic is over and 60 days after that. Also, AOC says ending federal unemployment benefits was based on fantasy, not data. So as I mentioned before, AOC introduced a bill to extend the federal unemployment benefits. This would extend it until February 1st of 2022. And if it does pass, it would make it retroactive, meaning that the $300 per week or $1,200 per month, that would be whenever it would pass. If it passes, then you would get all the past months from September 6th, which is a few weeks ago, until February 22nd. So it would be retroactive. And Ocasio-Cortez is fighting for this, saying that you can't force people to work a job that doesn't pay enough to live. And a few other things she said here. Letting PUA expire was based on fantasy, not data. We must restore it. So she's been fighting for this, for it to go on, but it doesn't seem like that's going to gain much traction as well. Let me know your thoughts on that, extending unemployment. Next, let's go over this article right here. Stimulus check update just came out last night. President Joe Biden could make future payments automatic without a vote. So what this is referring to is the American Rescue Plan was signed into effect by President Biden over 6 months ago. The bill has aided with several different economic benefits, including the specialized stimulus programs, child tax credit for parents, an emergency rental assistance program for struggling renters, and stimulus money for homeowners in need. So it's saying that basically it gave out $1,400 checks, which is good, third round of stimulus checks, but it was too little, too late. And what lawmakers want is, rather than a fourth or fifth round of recurring stimulus checks, they're saying there's still no answer of what's going to happen in the future, and they would like to have automatic stimulus checks attached to what's going on with the economy, with cases. This way it doesn't have to go through a long voting process as it's going on right now. Also, just to be clear, there is no fourth stimulus check in that $3.5 trillion package. But when it does come to a fourth stimulus check, the $2,000 per month to every American, currently the petition is at 2,893,000 signatures so far, getting really close to that 3 million mark. Now this, even if it does get to 3 million, we still don't know if this is going to make it into that big $3.5 trillion package. There are politicians fighting for it, but I guess politicians are fighting in general, because we look at this, open warfare breaks out between liberals and moderates over Biden agenda. To be clear, liberal Democrats versus moderate Democrats. If the Democrats can't fight with the Republicans, looks like the Democrats are just fighting with each other. So basically what it comes down to is like AOC, Bernie Sanders, that whole crew versus Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, as well as a lot of other Democrats who are not in this as much spotlight as Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. So yeah, it's getting really heated. To give you a quick synopsis of what's going on, take a look at this video clip right here explaining the situation.
The threat of a simultaneous government shutdown and debt default looms as Senate Republicans made it clear today that they will not vote to raise the debt ceiling, which the House is voting on tonight. It's an obviously hypocritical move. Republicans were totally fine with the debt rising almost $7.8 trillion. Mitch McConnell even said in 2019 that America defaulting on its loans would be a disaster. He said today the Democrats will have to raise it on their own. Meanwhile, President Biden's agenda is under threat as Democrats continue to grapple with internal divisions. Speaker Pelosi promised moderates that the House will vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill by September 27th. That would be next Monday. But she also promised progressives that the vote would take place side by side with their $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill. But some moderates, Joe Manchin, are not on board with the price tag of some of the provisions in the bill, with Axios reporting that he's privately saying Congress should, quote, take a, quote, strategic pause on the bill until 2022. Now, publicly, Manchin says they're still working on it. But after meeting with Speaker Pelosi for 90 minutes today, Progressive Caucus Chair Pramila Jayapal said in no uncertain terms that progressives will not vote for the infrastructure bill until reconciliation passes. She said she thinks Pelosi will likely delay the infrastructure vote. Meanwhile, Speaker Pelosi is claiming that the reconciliation bill is on schedule and will be ready on Monday. Now, on top of all of this, millions of people are now facing eviction after the Supreme Court overturned Biden's eviction moratorium. So today, progressives introduced their own eviction bill.
So as you can see, it is a big mess, and we're heading towards that Monday, September 27th deadline where something's going to happen, because the bipartisan infrastructure bill is ready to vote on, but If it is not voted on, Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin are out on the $3.5 trillion package. Meanwhile, progressives are saying that if the $3.5 trillion package is not voting on, then they're out of the $1.2 trillion bipartisan package. So it really is a showdown, a standoff, basically open warfare, and it's kind of crazy. I don't know what's going to happen. Let me know your thoughts on all this down in the comments below. But Democratic leaders need to worry more than just Joe Manchin and Sinema on spending plan. So what's going on here is there's a lot of Democrats who are on the side of Manchin and Sinema, but their faces aren't really known and they're not really speaking out much. They're kind of hiding behind Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema saying, yes, do it, but they're not really taking the spotlight themselves. So for example, Representative Stephanie Murphy, Democrat from Florida, is a member of the panel and leader of the Blue Dogs, a coalition of moderate Democrats who are fiscally conscious. Murphy voted against the Ways and Means Committee advancing the overall plan, saying that I strongly support numerous provisions, said Murphy, but added that her nay vote hinged on spending and tax provisions that gave me pause. Also, Tom Suozzi, a Democrat from New York, representative of Queens and Long Island, which is where I'm from, he's against it as well. So yeah, we're going to see, it's going to get really ugly over the next few days. Here's a video clip from Representative Porter talking more about what's going to happen moving forward.
Is this bill paid for in a way that satisfies you? Do you consider this bill paid for?
Well, so I think we have a big chunk of it paid for. I think there is more that we could do to raise revenue. And so I think if that is the concern that's holding some people back, I think they need to know that a lot of us who, support this bill are also willing to pay for it. And a big chunk of it is paid for. We've worked very, very hard in the House to identify ways to raise revenue by eliminating special interest loopholes in our tax code, by coming up with a more fair system of global tax enforcement that is, fair for U.S. companies and foreign companies. So we can pay for as much of this as we want to. And I stand ready and willing to do that. I think there are some big pieces, including lowering the price of prescription drugs, which is not only good policy, but would also help us pay for the investment in healthcare, including providing dental, hearing, and vision for Medicare beneficiaries, lowering the age of Medicare eligibility to 60. I think we need to put that piece back in the bill to lower the price of prescription drugs, both because we ran on it, because it's good policy, because it's a real problem for the American people, and because it would help us pay for the changes and improvements to health care that we want to make.
You run and run for election in Orange County. You converted a Republican seat to a Democratic seat. You obviously know how to talk to Republican voters, and you know how to deal with that dynamic in your district, which not all Democrats do. They don't all have mixed districts the way you do. So you also strike me as someone who knows how to talk to the people who are being now labeled moderates in the House, who feel like they want to go slower on the reconciliation side, go smaller on the reconciliation side. How does your dialogue go with those people?
Well, I think with the question to put to these conservative Democrats, and I've had some of these conversations, including tonight, is what do you want to cut? Tell me, do your constituents not have trouble paying for childcare? Are your constituents not worried about climate change? Are your constituents not in need of roads and bridges? Do your constituents not struggle to pay for the price of prescription drugs? The answer always is yes, of course. Then the answer is clear. Then you should support these things, which when you ask them, when you really put to these conservative Democrats, do you not think these things are problems? Do you not hear from your constituents that this is the agenda that they want, that they support the president's agenda? They often are speechless. They know it's true. They know this is what their constituents need. They simply have very vague objections, often based on some sense of what is and isn't possible. But I want to be clear, Lawrence, the people of this country elected each one of us, Democrat or Republican, to make better policy in their lives possible. It's up to us. What is possible is defined by what we're willing to do to deliver for the families who sent us to Washington.
I just want to go inside these conversations for a moment for the audience, because I think the way you just described them sounds kind of confrontational, and frankly more confrontational than what I was used to when I was working there, when I saw people trying to pull people in their direction. How would you describe them in terms of confrontational or cooperative or supportive? Are you trying to support someone to find his way or her way to voting the way you want them to vote? I don't think people in the audience really have a feel for how these conversations go.
Oh, no, they're very, very pleasant. I mean, I had a terrific conversation tonight with one of the conservative Democrats who signed the letter to the Speaker about the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And I said, I really support the bipartisan infrastructure bill. I cannot wait to vote to deliver infrastructure to the American people. And he said, I'm so happy to hear that. And I said, can I count on you to vote to deliver help with health care, with senior care, with child care, with climate change, with college costs? Can I count on you to help deliver those things to the American people too? So, and the answer was, and so I think that is a very positive way to say the conversation is we are all in for doing infrastructure. That is what the Progressive Caucus has said from the very beginning. We support investment in infrastructure. It's not the only thing we support. We also support the other needs of the American people.
If you appreciate all of the information that I have sifted through and gathered to present it to you in hopefully a fact-based, fast-paced way, hit the like button down below and subscribe for more videos like this. Next, I'm going to get into the comments, the questions you asked me in the comments. So Bertha Washington asks, what about money for us on disability? Unfortunately, there's no proposals, no plans for specifically people on disability or SSDI. They've kind of been left out of the loop. So it seems like seniors are getting money, at least through proposals, not officially yet, but and people with kids and families, but people on disability, unfortunately not. David Bassong, could you get closer to your mic as I have my volume full blast and it's hard to hear? Yeah, sorry, I was, audio was all messed up yesterday. Hopefully it's much better today, but let me know. Sorry about that technical difficulty. Next question comes from eponymous user. Can you explain what it means for them to default or raise the debt ceiling? What effect does that have on citizens? Yeah, that's a great question. I keep asking that too. If the US does default, raises the debt ceiling or not, how does that affect our everyday life? So I read some articles that a lot of programs would be cut. There would be Medicare cuts. They would cut school lunches. They would do things like that. I guess whatever we usually fund programs with throughout the year, those things would be cut if the US defaults because there wouldn't be money towards those programs. At least that's what I read. But it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen since it never happened before in history. Rose Bass asks, what's the point of them getting good teeth if they have no food to use them on? Yeah, great point. So referring to the Medicare $1,000 vouchers for seniors, yeah, if food prices are up and people don't have enough money to pay for food, then what's the point of having good teeth? Great point there. I think definitely a lot more should be done. Anyways, that is all the stimulus news I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I'm going to tell you something. And this is my little daughter sister. Can I tell you one of my favorite secrets that I want to give to you? Adults don't know everything. I know code my little Galileo.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. Also, quick reminder, I'm giving $200, announcing that on the 27th. So you still have some time if you want to enter to win $200. Also, just been hanging out with the girls. We went to the beach yesterday. Bella caught 2 waves, which was really cool. I wish we filmed it, but we didn't. And the girls have just been painting and being creative. Anyways, hope you have an excellent day. Take care. Be safe. Thank you for watching.